about the Gold Cup finish for Mexico and where we go from here. How we doing, gents?
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Microphone check.
I can hear you.
Good, good. No, hopefully it sounds good.
Yeah, for
No
now.
echo, no. That day I went out to my front. I went out the house to the front,
Uh huh.
and that seemed to throw off.
You
I don't know
are
why.
you Bluetooth?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and I went without the phone. I just went out.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. You were just too far away.
Yeah, and it threw me off because I paused it and I went to the front yard to get something, and when I came back, so yeah, I won't be.
It's all good in
I'm
the
gonna stay
hood.
within. I'm gonna stay within range. Um, yeah, we could talk about the game. I want to talk a little bit about the game experience.
Okay.
I'm getting old, dude.
Yeah.
this is this isn't my football anymore. I'm gonna say
Uh
why. I'm gonna say why. And yeah, what's in store for Max? A lot of things to talk about.
yeah, I know, man. I'm just writing down all my notes here. Okay. All right, all right. Let me kick this off then. Do. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to La Cantina MX Football Podcast, live on Twitter Spaces and YouTube. We're going to be talking about the Gold Cup final. Mexico wins. What now? What does the future hold for Jimmy Lozano? Liga MX Week 3 ended. We're going to talk about those results. And unfortunately, it's going to go on pause in favor of Leagues Cup. And of course, the transfer window is open. We have some rumors, some upsetting rumors that we're going to be going over. And that and much, much more. Before I go any further, want to welcome my friend Joel and Abdias to the podcast. Gents, how we doing?
Greetings, Jaime, Matias. Doing good, dude. I'm doing good.
Buenas chavos, también doing good on this side. Looking forward to talking to y'all.
Absolutely. You know who's not doing good is Duca Ferretti, man. What's up with your boy, bro? That dude has anger and management issues.
I mean, tell me something that we didn't know. All right. El Tuca tiene los huevos bien puestos y como dijo él, soy un hombre y como hombre me tengo que hacer respetar.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He went off in the press conference, the classic Duca rant. One of my favorite ones is when, he asked for the ladies to speak up first. Yeah, that was
The
pretty.
famous cállese carajo.
Cállese carajo. En mi casa yo hago mis reglas. It's like, oh shit, man. And we're talking about, we're gonna obviously talk about the Gold Cup final and now like what's in store for like Jimmy Lozano. Do they keep him? Does he go? But boy, man, I would love to have someone with that kind of balls, on the national team. That's what the national team needs, man. Just a strong character, like a father figure.
That's it, man. That's why I'm so happy with him in Cruz Azul. Like, everyone's like, que van la verga. Me vale verga, güey. Like, this is what Cruz Azul needs. Because if you're a Cruz Azul fan, you know on the inside, es todo un desmadre de ese lado. So you need somebody at the helm, a director técnico. I've said it in multiple past pods before. They need more of a dictator in that chair.
Yeah, and I think that's why he refuses to coach the national team, right? Like it's just too much he wants full control, like admin, right? Full admin control, and like they're not gonna give him that. So he's cool where he's at over there at Cruz Azul.
That's it. And they gave him the keys to the kingdom. They were like, hey, you come in here, you do what you want, you tell us what you want. So his contract doesn't have an expiration date. It's
Oh,
like,
wow.
yo, you're gonna be here for the long run, my dude.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about Liga MX in a bit. We had the pleasure of attending the final in Los Angeles, first time at SoFi for me and Joel. We met up before the game, got to go up to the press box, and then I ended up going on the pitch to take photos, which you all can look at soccerchronicle.com. Uploaded them today, so if you guys want to see all the images, they're there. But Joel, how was your experience over there at SoFi?
I like the stadium, Jaime, but I think I'm getting old, dude.
Why do you say that?
I hate this. They had like first they had like music playing. I don't know if you could hear it. They had like some DJ playing music. I just did not like that at all.
Yeah.
And then did you see it? I don't know if you could see. I'm sure you could have from the they had like what was it? What were they? Influencers? They kept cutting to like 4 different people.
Yes.
They had like this Panamanian girl. They had a Mexican girl.
Yes.
Some guy. I don't know what he was. He like a hip gringo pocho. I don't know. And they had like a disco stew guy.
Oh yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I have a story about Disco Stew actually.
he looks like my friend Ivan. So I contacted him.
We all have a friend. He reminds me of like the personality of Aziz Ansari, the comedian. He has like that high pitched like voice, and he's like really small and like, yeah. He reminds me of a character named Randy that he used to play on this show called, or a movie called Funny People. Anyways, so here's the story with so if to paint the picture for those that weren't at the stadium, because this part doesn't show up on TV. So obviously the fans get there early and they need to keep the fans entertained. So they actually pay people to go out there and like keep the fans engaged. And one of the people that they have is this hype man. His name's Dancing Wayne. And Dancing Wayne was at the Champions League final last month with LAFC and León. I took a really funny photo of him. He's on the shoulders of some other like LAFC fan, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know his name, right? So at the final on Sunday, I ran into him in the celebration part, like post game when everyone's doing the the Olympic run and stuff. And I was like, hey man, like, what's your IG? I took this awesome photo of you. He's like, oh shit, that's cool. And then so we connected. His name's Dancing Wayne, and I asked him what's his next event. He's actually gonna go to the Women's World Cup in New Zealand, Australia, for the semis and final, and he's gonna be doing the same shit over there, just like hyping up the crowd. Imagine having that life.
I found all that annoying, dude. I'm I need to see a final, dude. I don't need these guys. I don't need to hear what they're talking about. It was annoying me. I felt like leaving, Jaime. I was like, all right, dude, I'm done.
Like that?
I don't know, because I didn't walk around a lot. I know usually there's a fan fest, and it's outside of the stadium.
Did they have a fan fest? Because I didn't see any old heads there. Like,
Well,
usually they have a bunch of old players there signing autographs.
Well, those are the guys that didn't invest their money, so now they're working for State Farm or selling used cars or something, and they're like outside of a tent trying to lure people in. But I mean, yeah, do that shit outside, dude. This is for football. I don't want to see this. So yeah, I was getting annoyed, dude. What is this shit, man? But I mean, I guess that's just the way, then you're like,
I want to
people
say
seem to like it.
I want to say your good friend Wiso did that one time at a Mexico Molero game.
He did what?
He did the whole like pregame hype at the stadium. Like,
Oh.
yeah, he had to do some of that. His TikTok
Well, if-
dancing moves paid off, bro. They're like, oh yeah, we need that guy to hype up the crowd before the game starts. Just give him a mic.
Yeah. See, and that's my whole thing. Maybe because I'm old school, I don't need some dancing dude to hype me up. I'm already hyped. I'm there to
I'm
see the
already
game,
hyped.
dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to see. You know,
Well, you
I don't care
know,
what some Toxica is saying. The fake fans, dude. Those were all like fake fans, dude.
they don't even.
I don't
They're
listen
not
to
even.
your shit, dude.
They're not even associated with like football. Like they do other. You know, they do this for like Fortune 500 companies and shit. They're not just.
Yeah, I could tell, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, no, get out of here.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what's crazy is, you know, they did tell us, they did inform us that there was going to be a little concert before the game. And I, you know, I'm like, okay, whatever. And I see this dude in a white suit, black guy, and I'm taking photos and I'm like, wait, is that Akon? And it was Akon. Akon did the like the little pre-song.
Did they even announce him?
No,
'Cause
dude.
Right?
It was either Akon or a dude that looks very, very similar to Akon. But
Oh no, it was Akon, my dear good sir.
It
was
I
Akon?
watched that part on TV and I was
Oh,
like,
shit.
what the fuck is Akon doing there?
I'm locked up and they won't let me. I don't know. That's the only song I know from Akon.
I thought he was back in fucking Africa. Like that was the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
he went back to Africa. He's making African music now and all that shit.
Hey man, he's making world music with this Gold Cup song. But you know, good for him. Good for him getting his money. You know, what people don't realize is all this pregame shit is very annoying for photographers because, you know, they do the pyro, they do the smoke, and it's just an absolute nightmare when the game kicks off, especially in a stadium that's like kind of like closed, you know, like the roof is like covered and stuff. Which, by the way, like SoFi, you spent $5.5 billion building this fucking stadium, and they said, oh yeah, we're gonna have the AC running. But then there's openings, you know, you try to run the AC in your house with all the windows open and see how effective that is. So it was like a greenhouse effect, bro. It was like burning in there on the pitch, man. It was terrible. And the pitch itself was in terrible conditions. Like I don't think people understand that you could actually see the seams of the grass and it looked very dangerous. Like I would not feel comfortable playing on that pitch. It's like playing on like, you know, like a rug is what it felt like. You know, I look at the goal by Santi Jimenez. He didn't kick the ball very well. And I don't know if that had to do with the pitch or just like the style of play or, you know, just in the moment. But he didn't hit that ball very well and he still scored. And yeah, I mean, Mexico won 1-0. They did take a goal away in the first half with Henry Martin. And, you know, when you're at the stadium, when you're on field level, like, there is no context, right? Like they all celebrated the goal. They even put it on the scoreboard. And then all of a sudden, you know, it gets called back. They didn't show any replays on the Jumbotron, right? They don't want to, you know, spike what do they call it? Like a protest or whatever. They didn't want to like, you know, get the crowd and like revolting or anything. So, you know, a lot of the times, like we don't get to see what you guys see on TV. And I was really confused when they rolled that goal back. You know, because, you know, from where I was sitting, you can't really see the defensive line.
Yeah, Jaime. I mean, I keep telling you, just watch it from the press box, dude. We get TVs up there.
Y'all get your catered food, little buffet style. You get your fucking air conditioner. You got a nice chair.
Te gusta sufrir, Jaime.
You got the
How
fucking
do you-
bathrooms
How
that
do you go
are,
to the bathroom, dude? What if you gotta take a leak
man.
and it's like the 20th minute? I know you can't just like whip it out and go in the grass.
Nah, son, you gotta
Soccer style, you know, like with shorts.
and you know that was it was a constant battle, right? Because we had to stay hydrated at the same time. It's like you drink too much water, you got to go pee, and you're not about to get up in the middle of a game and take a piss. Yeah, so it's, you know.
Do you use the bottle? It's just-
yeah.
Chingao, my little one has to teach you guys the pro move. You put on the pants, my dear good sir.
Oh my God, you put on a diaper? Is that what you do?
A huevo.
Depends.
Yeah. Hey, I like the vibe at SoFi. Maybe not the pregame stuff. Like, I wasn't really paying attention, but I will say like the crowd itself was very energetic. That's probably one of the loudest environments I've been in my experience covering the game. I don't think
Jaime, but I thought the crowd was weak.
I think like they didn't. There was no like chants or anything. The occasional
There you go. In that sense,
the
no
Mexico,
flags,
Mexico,
no.
or the Si Se Puede. I heard it a few times, but when Mexico had those like chances on goal, like you heard the crowd like really like crank up the volume, and then when they scored, obviously like I lost my hearing.
Not even that annoying Celito Lindo. But I have to call out all these. I don't know if they were in attendance, but you used to have like the Mexico fan groups, like the Pancho's Army, and other groups, other barras that used to. I don't know if
Yeah.
they just. I didn't really see them, but you could see a lot of their presence before. Um,
Yeah,
I
what
don't know
what
what
happened to
happened there.
Villa's army? Did they just get like banned or something or disbanded or something?
No,
You don't see them
I
at the games
think
anymore.
I think they split up, dude,
Yeah,
because I knew there was a lot of like infight,
clicks.
like disagreements about stuff, and also like you figure shit out, and then you're like, well, I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
I
It's like,
you
why,
don't yeah.
why?
You don't really like think about that as a fan, but we obviously know someone in the 3252, and like he explained it to me. He's like, look, dude, like yes, it's like 3252, but within the 3252 there's different bandas and cliques and groups, and we don't all get along with each other. Sometimes there's beef, and it's like, why, dude? It's like you guys are all supporting the same team, but the ego gets in the way. And I don't know if that's what happened with Villa's Army. I know there was a lot of controversy surrounding them, and I will say though, you do miss like you see it in the clubs, right? You see it with like the ultras and stuff. Like they have like their chants and their drums, and they have like they get the whole crowd involved. But for the national team, you don't hear the drums, you don't hear the trumpets or anything like that. And I know a lot of it has to do with just like security and like not allowing certain items in anymore. Like you mentioned, like the flags and banners. Like I don't think those are allowed anymore.
All it takes is
Yeah,
one
it sucks.
stabbing to ruin it for everyone.
Yeah, for real.
Well, I from the games, I didn't see much of a presence as we were seeing a while back. So I don't know what happened there. Something must have been going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing too is like, look, it's a generational thing, right? A lot of these people. I mean, we saw some of the videos. Was it Jose del Valle interviewing this kid? And say, ¿cómo, qué piensas del partido? He's like, what? ¿Cómo te llamas? My name? Like, dude, the dude didn't know lick of Spanish, right? So I think that's another thing too. A lot of the fans that are going to the game, they're a lot younger now. They're no Sabo kids, and they don't have those traditional chants like being passed down to them. So yeah, it's something's being lost there.
And that's a shame, man. That's what gave our football color, right? Like fuck it, call me a homophobe, me vale verga. I'm gonna yell puto day in and day out cada vez que hace clear el portero. Shit, I do it in Seattle next to the fucking support trans kids flags. Me vale verga. It's the culture.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be interesting to see what another 10 years does to the fan base, especially with the amount of games that are being done here in the U.S. Right? Like, when's the last time Mexico played in Mexico? Like an official match, like World Cup qualifiers. Maybe that was the last time. It's been a minute. As far as
dude.
Yeah. As far as the game, Panama, I will give you credit, Joel. They definitely were a lot more difficult to crack than I gave them credit for. They did a great.
Wait, Jaime, the physical aspect, dude.
Yeah.
They kept bodying Max, dude. And a few times when they would. One thing I noticed, they would do that long ball close to the area to mix, to the and that was sort of like their thing to body the player out of the way, and they did get away with it a few times, and they created opportunities like that.
I would say, man, I want to say the first 10, 15 minutes, like Panama looked a little bit more dangerous than Mexico. Where Panama failed, though, was execution, right? They would get the ball in Mexico's area, and then they just wouldn't be able to, like, capitalize on those moments or, like, really test Ochoa. I don't think Ochoa was tested all game long. I know towards the end they had, like, a chilena or scissor kick, but it didn't really go on target. But, you know, Panama held their own. They played their game, which was to, you know, keep Mexico at bay for as much as possible, maybe take it into overtime and penalties and really have a chance there. At the end, though, you know, Henry Martin got subbed out and he had a little berrinche. He looked hesitant. He wasn't happy about the substitution, especially with 5 minutes left on the clock. And then Santi Jimenez gets in there and, you know, had a breakaway, put it away, got the game closed in regular time, and everybody lost their fucking minds after that, man. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was. He was. That's what the fans has been expecting of him, of Santi. They want him to be that player, and he, he got his moment, and he's right now. He's gonna be one of the stars, you know. No, but I just want to talk a little bit about Panama, and that's them without like any really standout player. They don't really have any player that is like next level, you could say, and they're already a difficult team.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really can't name you. Apart from Godoy, he does play locally here in San Jose. The rest of the players, I'm sorry, I can't really place them as far as like playing for a substantial team.
And let's keep in mind they won the Toulon tournament. So one thing we've seen of the teams that win the Toulon tournament, they end up having between 2 or 3 players that become like standout players. I'm not saying world class, but really good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Players end up being like really good and have really good careers. And so it's going to be interesting to see Panama going forward, and then later if they integrate. I don't know if they did for this tournament, but let's see if they integrate some of these younger guys moving forward. And I don't think they're qualified to the Copa America. So I think that's their next thing to win a seat in that tournament, because that's pretty much the biggest tournament before the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm excited for Panama. You know, I remember the first time they had ever qualified for the World Cup back in 2018, and what a big deal that was. And you know, you used to have your usual suspects that would qualify for the World Cup: Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and now you know you have this newcomer Panama. So you know, credit to them. They took that loss very, very hard. Like, you know, I saw their goalkeeper just break down after the game as if it was his fault. It really wasn't his fault, you know. And one thing that I want to give them credit for, and actually I think Mexico kind of set the example, which was, this is something that I used to do like in Little League, right? Like you line up and you create a tunnel of your players, and then you let the other team walk through there, and you know, you shake hands, you stick your hand out. And Mexico did that for Panama when they got their second place medal. And I thought that was a nice touch of class because, you know, I've covered, I want to say this is like I lost count of how many finals I've covered. I covered the last time, you know, the Gold Cup final in Vegas and the Nations League in Denver. And I've never seen that kind of like sportsmanship. Keep in mind, you know, it's USA Mexico. There is that rivalry. Mexico would stay at least to like watch the US get their trophy, and then they would walk off the field. But seeing this like sportsmanship, with Mexico doing the little tunnel thing, and then Panama did the same thing back. So I think there was like that level of respect, and give credit to Panama. I think they can hold their head up high and be proud of what they accomplished in this tournament, and we'll see if they can qualify to another World Cup now that they don't have to worry about Mexico, USA, or Canada. I think their possibilities are definitely good.
Yeah, I do think they're one of the favorites to make the World Cup, but I think I'm interested to see how they make it to the Copa America, and then how they do there, and then at the World Cup.
Yeah. Overall, so now that we've seen this, this team that struggled under Diego Coca, you see them have a complete 180 under Jimmy Lozano. We've been talking about it almost every week. Like, would you rock the boat? Would you fix something that's not broken? Or was this performance enough for Jimmy Lozano to stay at the helm?
Puta madre, güey, poniéndome piedras en los bolsillos. Honestly, man, I don't fucking know on this one. Like, before, I know it was big talk that, no, que chingue su madre, no me gustan los interinatos. I still don't like interinatos. But, yo, Jimmy's performing, man. Jimmy, if you see, like, the videos que la federación released afterwards, las palabras de Jimmy, tenemos que ganarla, cabrones. And everything, just the tone of a Mexican at the helm, that's what the Mexican national team is and needs. So, puta, we no sé, but either way, like, if we lose them, it's going to be sad to see them go. Now, the internal talk, lo que está pasando, is that they're saying that Jimmy is going to be un asistente, doesn't matter what, right?
Yikes.
If they choose to go with somebody else, he will be the number 2 man, just to set up that long proceso for 2030.
Well, for me, I was the whole thing of he did the whole turnaround. He got the team to do the 180. That didn't impress me because I always saw the team being at that level. I think that they were playing as was more on the players. When you're complaining about training or how far it's from the hotel, or you don't like the hotel, so it almost makes me not like want you in the team. Like, why should that be an issue? So that's why I'm sticking to my point that they make the bet for Coca, man. I think they would have won it if that other dude was there, but they needed to get him out of there. And it wasn't just getting rid of Coca. It was getting Iraragorri out too, finally. Able to piece a bit more of that. Not just Iraragorri, the other guy that was part of it was Salinas Pliego. And he was talking some mad shit on Twitter, which I hope I saved. I tried to save the screenshots. I tried to save some of that stuff. Let me see if I have it, because I actually agreed with a couple of the things he said.
Yeah, while you do that, we have Al Pastor joining us. Al Pastor, welcome to the show.
No, I don't have it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Hoping you're having a good night. I agree. I think le tendieron la cama a Coca. So, as much as respect I have for Jimmy and everything he's doing, I don't think it's that amazing. I mean, it wasn't like a overwhelming performance by the team. They lost to Qatar. They played disappointing Jamaica, and they played a balanced Panama. But at the end of the day, like, for the level of roster you have, it could have been more of a dominating performance. And not taking anything away from Panama, they did well. They played well. But I just think Mexico still underperformed throughout the tournament. I think if the only difference was that they got rid of the guy that they did not want in charge, and that's why they were able to play a little bit better, but they're still playing like crap if you actually look at the overall performance.
Yeah, if you were to say they threw Jimmy a softball in this tournament, let's be honest, right? Go ahead, Abdias.
I'll say now I'm gonna come in hot on this one. All right. If our one complaint about Jimmy is the game against Qatar, come on, wait, no mames. All right. We had already qualified in first place. We saw 6 changes to the lineup, and Qatar played bunker ball. They were defending with 11 players the
But
whole
it's
time.
not a criticism towards Jimmy. It's a criticism towards the players. The players
But-
are underperforming from the level that they could be performing at. So
Okay, and
what I'm
that's
saying.
perfect.
Jimmy didn't come out and like did a radical change on this team. They're playing a little bit better than we're playing with Coca, but with Coca you could tell it was intentional.
But are you
Atendieron la cama.
sure? Because here's the deal, man. We got what 5 games under Coca, and you saw the play style. Y cómo estaban jugando. It wasn't the players. It's the way he's lining them up. It's what he's telling them to do.
Yeah,
El estilo de Coca no es el estilo mexicano.
I agree.
That's what the
No,
problem
but see,
was.
that's the thing.
And
What were
that's
you
why
saying?
he
The player is limited.
Not
Are
saying
you
not
saying
the
the
style.
player is limited and they can only play
you.
a certain way?
I would say
Like
it's
if
like
you go, if
you play to your players' strengths, and I think
That's exactly-
that's the difference between
and you think
a
the guy that made Atlas, be campeón.
That was
Does he know the
I don't
strength
know.
of these
That's not a
bombs?
valid point.
Y con cuántos extranjeros?
yeah. That's
Doesn't
the,
matter.
the
I mean, he
difference.
knows the league. He's
That's
been
the-
there long enough.
that's the criticism that you like. I give Coca. It's like you have to play to your strengths, and I think he was trying to force. Same thing with Tata, trying to impose their style of play. That is not to the strengths of the Mexican national team, which is not their fault. They were hired for the job, and
So
they're
you're saying
look,
these players are limited.
no. Let me finish. So
But
it's
you
like
are.
no. What I'm saying is, it's not all right. It's not Tata's fault. It's not Coca's fault that they're trying to impose their style of play that gives them the best results. It's the whoever decided to bring these motherfuckers in. It's their fault because they picked the wrong coach, the wrong style of play, and that's something that you do at a higher level. And with Jimmy plays a different way, and he plays to the strengths of the players that he has that he knows very well because they were the same players that they won
Well, he
a bronze
did-
medal
yeah.
with.
Yeah,
No,
he
but
had that advantage of knowing those guys. But if you, as a professional, you have to be able to adapt.
I
here's
agree.
where I'm gonna come in.
No,
Coy.
Not
I
just say,
disagree.
"Oh,
So
I
you
don't
mean to
like
tell me-
it, so I'm gonna play
A
out."
true professional will grind their teeth. They'll suck it up, and yeah, they will eventually adapt and learn to play the way their coach wants them to play. However, as it's been very obvious, the players have all the control right now. They are very influential, and if they don't like you, guess what, dude? We'll do exactly what we did at Coca, and that is get you the fuck out. And that's what they
Well,
did.
you know what? But that's why that one,
And
the
they-
new president. That's why he said it to them. He said it in one of the press conference. Like this is not gonna go, and because Jimmy might not stay. So if they try pulling that shit again, well then you could fuck off too.
The thing is, it's like the problem is number one. All right, the players have to like you. Period. Right. Unless
I don't think so, man.
unless you're someone that has a very strong pedigree, right? You bring in like a Tuca, then everyone's gonna fall in line, right? I don't think Diego Coca had the character to control the locker room. Neither did Tata, bro. These players did
No
not.
one backed him up. We talked about this. How no one. Well, see, and that's the whole thing. Tata was backed up.
And they're
They backed him
foreigners.
up.
And they're
They-
foreigners.
They backed up Tata. Players knew he had the federation's backing, and that's why we criticize. Even Al Pastor said it. I agree with his point. They didn't say shit until Tata was gone. And
Yeah.
they, well, I don't want to hear it now. You should have said it when he was there. Like, why talk shit now? It's pointless.
I think
Uh,
there's two factors with Jimmy, right? That people are underestimating. Number one, he's Mexican. Number two, he was a player, so he's a player's coach, right? The players respect him. They know he's been in that situation, right? He's been through qualifiers. He had a respectable career. The players are bought into him, his method. He's young, right? His assistant coach is like Japanese, Mexican. I don't know. He's got the vibe, bro, and the players will play for him. And
He does have the vibe.
I saw that, dude. I saw that firsthand on Sunday. Like everybody was having a good time. They were like making him dance and do his like TikTok shit. Like the players love him, right? And I think you can't put a price on that. And I would hate to see them break this up. I know that he's probably not the most qualified coach for the national team. That, yeah, it would be nice to have someone with more experience, but this is the time to do it. We don't have to worry about qualifiers. We have a fucking Copa America that's here in the States, which is basically like playing at home, right? So if you're going to take a gamble on someone with maybe not the highest pedigree, but is Mexican and young, I think this is your best bet. And I don't see anyone coming in that is going to get better results than him out of these players.
Well, those aren't going to be all of them. Those aren't going to be the starters. A lot of those guys are going to eventually be replaced.
I would say the core is going to remain, right? I mean,
yeah, the core will stay, but I mean,
like Tecatito, Chucky, maybe some guys that make a name for themselves.
We'll see. I mean,
some guys make some moves to Europe.
These guys aren't getting younger, and I honestly don't want to rely on a Chucky Lozano or a Tecatito for 2026. No disrespect to them, but we got to have players like Padilla, right? I mean, I know he's just had 3 games, but that's kind of what you hope is like there's new kids on the block that are going to take the spot away from these guys that we've been relying on for such a long time.
Senor, I know you're in love with Padilla, but we'll hold that one on until later, okay?
No, yeah, I mean, that's just an example. I'm not gonna say, oh, call him to the national team now, but in 3 years, you would hope to see like more players like that, come break into the mix instead of having to rely on like the Romos, the fucking old heads, right? These guys that are gonna be in their mid 30s by the time 2026 around. You want a young team that's hungry.
Yeah, you never know what'll happen. Like, you know how Chivas and Bilbao just had that game. Bilbao's backup goalies have Mexican. His mom is Mexican, so you can never know, man. Crazy world. The kid becomes a starter for Bilbao. He's killing it. Now all of a sudden, Ochoa has competition going into 2026.
Exactly.
Like, you never know what might happen within the next 2 years. So the idea is that, yeah, hopefully a bunch of these young kids do become, the next big thing. And who knows, just like how Guardado was playing at 17 in the World Cup.
I was just going to say that.
You never know. 2026, some kid might come up 6 months leading into the World Cup. So, yeah, it's a little too soon. But hopefully, yeah, we are blessed with all these randomly showing up.
Yeah. This sounds a lot like the Marcelo Mame.
Yeah, but one of them will turn out well.
For me, it's like, who is going to be our next, like, Andres Guardado or our next Chicharito, right? Like, players that just, like, got thrown in there and just performed. And, like, we need some more of that going on. We need some new blood and not rely on these dudes anymore. Tecatito's injury prone. And, Chucky's going to be 30. And from the latest rumor, it might sound like he's going to be taking a L and going to Los Angeles. I mean, that's a rumor that's been popping up that he's...
It's a very strong rumor.
It's a very strong rumor. And, unfortunately, LA is a very attractive city. And I'm sure that they're going to pay him handsomely. And Napoli have already said that they're trying to offload him. So that might change. Things might change very, very soon. And for those that are like anti-Jimmy or whatever, maybe not convinced, I want to see some answers. Right? Who would you call up? Who would you replace him with?
I'm gonna call somebody out right now. I want to hear from Disco. Yeah. What he has in mind.
He is on the chat saying every Mexican was celebrating Santi Jimenez scoring the winning goal except for Joel. He was foaming at the mouth that a Buenos Aires born European-based player won it.
What? No. No, I'm not. I don't hate on RGs. That's Al Pastor. He doesn't like the RGs.
No, I do not.
I've actually lived in Buenos Aires.
I don't like his dad.
Santi was singing the national anthem.
Whoa, espérate. ¿Qué, güey? ¿Quieres putazos? ¿Qué traes con el chapo?
He's Argentino.
¿Y?
That's it. Hey, man, you gotta remember I'm a Chivas fan. I'm a xenophobe.
That is true. All right.
That makes sense.
So, what's this, the panel that they're going to be confiding with to pick the next coach? It's like Puyol. What does Puyol have to do with Mexico, dude?
So
Well,
he's
I
in
think
there.
I think there's been talk of a panel, and then people they'll just throw some shit together, because that list is a rumor. But I was even last podcast I was telling you guys about this
Like
whole
someone
panel
share
thing.
this list.
Well, people just come up with that. Someone will pull some names out of
Who
the
who
ass.
was on there? It was
Fernando
Peláez.
Ceballos. Fernando Ceballos came out with the full list. It's Peláez. It's
Can't trust that guy.
Rafa
what's his
Marquez.
name? Rafa Marquez.
Carles Puyol.
El Bigotón.
Really?
Yeah. So like they're not puta madre. El Vasco Aguirre.
Oh.
I want to say Tomás Boy, el que está en Honduras right
dead.
now.
Tomás Boy.
Oh shit, not Tomás Boy.
Can they use a Ouija board?
Oh, okay. I got
That's
it.
the we need.
Javier Aguirre, Jorge Campos, Andrés Guardado, Rafael Márquez, Ricardo Peláez, Carlos Puyol.
I don't see Marquez being called over, man. I was telling you guys how Marquez got 86 from Liga MX. He's gonna start.
Right now.
He needs to pucker up and kiss a lot of ass.
It's all fake news.
What the fuck does Puyol have to do with the national team?
So Puyol is getting
Because it's Fernando Hierro, dude.
No. So Puyol's getting rolled in because if they do decide to go for a European type coach, he's got the connections on that side of the pond.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of pull does this dude have? Like, what kind of names does he have access
I thought he
to?
has any pull, man. He was just a player.
Books.
I would like to
He
know.
was just a player, man. I thought he has any actual pull.
He looks like
And then the other
He
thing
looks
that they're
Captain
saying,
K-Man.
the other thing that they're saying about this council, right, is that it's not so much a permanent thing. Like they're gonna keep coming back and assessing where it is that Mexico is going and where it is that they are periodically. Like they're gonna come together, do kind of like a brainstorming session,
it's like
and then break up. Everyone goes to their own sides, and then everybody comes back.
glorified armchair coaches, fucking circle
That's
jerk.
it.
Yeah, it's so stupid, to be honest.
No, see, and that.
Let me get
tells
that
you-
paycheck, and I'll tell you who's the next coach. It's like
Yeah,
bunch of smoke, dude.
the national team is the final product of your whole structure. So if that's what you're focusing on, your final product, you're already fucking up. You need to start focusing from deep down, all the way from the lower levels to see how you can improve the whole situation. Like the Panama guy, after they lost on the interview, congratulating him and like how it felt to get this far. And he said that all he asked is that they support them by giving them playing fields, quality playing fields in Panama. He started naming off stadiums, and apparently of all these stadiums, there's only 2 that have like decent fields where he said, this is where you can play the game. This is where we can get better. This is where you can train. He's like, everything else you can't. He's naming like stadiums of professional teams down there, and apparently the fields are so shit. So that's what I mean, even they know there's the little things. It's the little things with youth development and everything that you see a final product. If you're paying Puyol and all these guys to come in to give you like a review of your national team final product, they're just taking advantage of you. I mean, you're just paying these consultants stupid money for no reason.
Well, that's where that list doesn't make sense. But having former players or former coaches makes more sense, because I mean, at least you're getting because see, one of the main reasons of having this council is because in the past it would be like the owners, the club owners, that would say, well, like Vergara, he didn't really know about football, but that didn't stop him from giving his opinion and saying, he was one that pushed hard to get Hugo Sanchez out, and they bring in Sven Goran, who was a disaster. And so you're sort of trying to stop that, because now it will be like, well, we have a council of experts here to to weigh in on this, as opposed to
This
some
is
of the owners that.
this is a problem. Too many cooks in the kitchen, man. It's like
Yeah, well, that's
there's
that's
just
what they're
too
trying to get rid of.
there's too many. There's too many. It's like, why do we need fucking 8 people to tell us who the next coach should be? It's like,
Well,
Because
again, that's
it's
why I
not
don't
just
think the
the
list.
cooks,
I
man.
don't.
It's the special interests, right? Porque los dueños, cada uno está jalando para su lado. Now you
Yeah.
bring me former players, you bring me former national coaches. They're all pulling in the same direction. So I'm okay with multiple cooks as long as we all have the same end goal.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're more like cooks. They're more like, I mean, you guys saw that show on TUDN during the World Cup.
Los
Keep
Maestros.
forgetting the name, dude. Yeah, there you go, dude. That was my best part of the World Cup, dude. Watching that show
Absolutely.
at the end of the matches, and come on, Jaime, you wouldn't like a breakdown of that from some fuckers like that. Sit
From what
down
I've been
and-
hearing, that's pretty much what that console is going to be, right? It's con la
Yeah,
mayoría
well,
de los
and I
maestros
guess
que estaban ahí.
you don't need 8.
Y ahí van.
You don't need 8 for that.
The problem is, it's like, you know, again, everyone has their own opinion, and at the end of the day, it's like there's only one coach, and you can't really like listen to everyone telling you to do it their way when it's like, no, that's why you hired me for the job, right? Like, I respect your opinions, but fuck you, I'm gonna do it like this way, and that's why you hired me to do it. I don't like, if you're gonna tell me to do the job, let me do the fucking job. Don't like go in there and be a backseat driver, because I can't fucking stand that. Like, let me do the job. That's what you hired me for.
Jorge Vergara had the right idea when he brought Johan Cruyff to Chivas. That's what Selección and Mexican soccer needs right now. It needs like the whole restructuring from the ground up. The coach doesn't matter. Not even the player selection matters at this point. We need to start building this towards the future. And I brought up this point in the past, and I will keep bringing it up. Southgate, the one that coaches England, they presented a project to England like 10 years ago, like 10, 13 years ago. And it was a project that the FA was going to follow from the 3rd division all the way to the 1st division. And they completely overhauled the academy system. And their idea was to have like what they have now, like all these top English players, playing with top English teams, because they knew they were so foreign dependent, and they wanted them to be young, having the experience from the older foreigners. And it's paying off for them. Like, the amount of talent that England as a national team has right now is insane. You know, back in the day, it was like a David Beckham here or like another guy here.
Gerrard.
But right now,
Yeah.
right now they're pretty stacked. I mean, they went through like a little era where they're like trash.
They just can't produce any strikers. I mean, Harry Kane.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, that's it. I mean, I still want them to lose every single time, but I will acknowledge the fact that they completely overhaul their system, and it's looking very promising. But that was something that was planned 13 years ago, and the guy who planned it and presented the project, he's now at the helm of the project.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you actually need. You need like some actual serious planning. All these 8 guys sitting around a table throwing shit against the wall, talking about a coach, just a bunch of monkeys, man. Like,
I don't see it like that, dude. I think you're taking it the wrong way, and I don't think it's also going to be like the way Jaime is viewing it, as they're going to come and tell the coach how to do his job. They're sort of going to, like give you breakdowns of stuff, and then you could take from it what you will.
okay, so if all of us here got together and decided who should be the next ideal coach, and we got together and we finally agreed on somebody, and they chose that guy, would that change Mexican soccer in a positive way? Because the 8 of us came together and we agreed on someone?
No.
Well,
No,
because
it
that's the
wouldn't
other
change
thing that we're
shit.
missing out on, right?
It
So it's-
doesn't matter if
it's-
my name is Habibi or Guardado and your name is Marquez or whatever. All those guys with all their experience could come together, choose on one name, and it's not going to change anything because there's serious underlying issues that need to be addressed.
That's
And
true.
the coach is not one of them.
But the thing is, they're
Yeah,
not
but
just
you're saying
looking for a coach.
change what though? Like what exactly are you expecting to
I think-
change?
So,
Like the-
Pachuca, I'll give you a good example. Look at the Pachuca process of how they brought all these Argentino coaches that are really good at forming players in Argentina, and they brought them over to Pachuca, and Pachuca is really good at developing players. So I would maybe look at a little something like that. Okay, why is Pachuca being successful at developing players and consistently producing players? Is there like something that we could have all the other academies copy?
What Argentinos do? Did you know that they brought in Hans Westerhoff
No,
and
I really
Efraim
want to know like
Flores
the coaches that
to
you don't
do?
hear about, like the random coaches, like they don't have
Yeah,
just
but the
two
main
coaches.
dudes that set up the whole structure were those dudes that were at Chivas. Where Chivas was the one producing the best players. Then they
Okay,
moved to Pachuca, and then
but it
Chivas is
doesn't
paying
matter
off.
if it's Pachuca or Chivas. The whole idea is that what can be done, so it's across the board.
Yeah, I would
Now,
say
here's the thing. Like, El Comité isn't just getting together to look at head coaches. They're getting together to look at the entire federación, right? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we restructure from the ground up in order to have a successful project? They're not just looking at it for, hey, let's hire someone. They're looking at it for 2030 and beyond. So they are trying to take that long route. They are trying to get those views in. If
well,
anything, one of the rumors that's running right now is for them to kind of transition to kind of like the French system, to where, hey, send me your youth, your shining youth, 3 days out of the week. We will polish them, and then you can have them back, and they can play games. They can still train with you, but we're gonna do the polishing in house in a car and go from there.
Oh, like the Clairefontaine, they
Yep,
have their academy, the Clairefontaine.
And
what I,
those are
yep.
good
That's
things, and that's
kind of
all
the
we're
thing that
asking
they're
for.
looking at.
That you actually see some actual changes. So hopefully that is the way. But for the moment, there's just rumors, and so we actually see action. That's all there'll be.
I would say the biggest problem right now that needs to get fixed is that leap from our youth, to the first team, because our under 17, our under 20, our under 23, they perform very well in international tournaments. It's that gap, between going from the youth academy all the way up to the first division. That's where we lose a lot of our talent, and that should be the focus, in my opinion.
Well, they already did the whole right. The whole second division is gonna be geared more for the youth, and then are they getting rid of one or two foreigners
I'm
in
not
first
sure,
division? I heard something like that. Even if it's one, that's
but
like
it's a
18 more
yeah.
spots.
I hate that we have, like, Chivas have Brido and Yael Padilla, and they've had like 3 games to their name, right? And we're over here like praising them, calling them the next, like, Mbappe and stuff. It's ridiculous how quickly we hype up our players. We should be having 10 of these motherfuckers being debuted every season, right? Like, it shouldn't just be like one club doing this. Every club we should have so many young players playing in Liga MX right now that we can't even keep up with them. And that's what you need to do. It's a numbers game. Not everyone's going to pan out, but we're not even giving them the at bats that they need to become established and professionals. And I think that's the biggest glaring problem overall, not just the league, but just in Mexico in general. And I don't know what needs to change in order for that to happen.
Well, I
Long
literally
season
said this
format.
3 weeks ago, and you guys crucified me. You said that it's a high entertainment product that can't afford to have all these young players. I literally said how MLS debuts all these young kids, whether they're ready or not is a different story, and how Liga MX could learn from that. And you guys told me that
Well,
it's a product, and that they put too much money into it to be able to take that risk.
yeah, but also keep in mind MLS is not debuting them because they want to debut young players. They're debuting them because that's all they have. So it's not sort of like we're trying to help. You think San Jose is asked because their main goal is to help the U.S. national team? I mean, that's just what the owners have, and that's what it is.
Well, I mean, I don't
And
know,
so,
man. I don't know too much about other teams, but I do know about like the St. Louis team, and the St. Louis team has like no Americans in the starting. Like it's pretty much all foreigners on the roster.
Hmm.
So I mean, I'm trying to think as far as like even the guys that are American, they're American because they were like from Belgium, but now they picked up the U.S. citizenship.
Mhm.
But just like straight up like American, there's one, and it's like the academy kid. The
Well,
defense,
in MLS, I think the issue is the distribution of wealth, right? You have like a handful of players making a lot of good money. You got your designated players and stuff. And then the rest of the team is making like the minimum, or they're not making that much money.
It's
So,
pobreza, dude.
yeah, so it's like that's why I would assume that in the MLS there's a lot more younger players playing because they're inexpensive.
yeah, that's true. They're like on $60,000 contracts.
Yeah, and MLS shows everything. It's very transparent. I know, especially here in San Jose, like the ownership is the same as Oakland Athletics, and they invest $0 into their team. So, for the most part, San Jose has a lot of young kids. Kid Cowell. They have this goalkeeper named Emi Ochoa, who's like 17 or 18 years old. So I mean, they use a lot of young players because they're cheap and inexpensive. We have Ron joining us. Ron, how we doing? Thanks for hopping on.
How you doing, gentlemen? So at least, I mean, obviously, I'm happy that Mexico won. It's going to it'll calm the waters for the time being, but still, I mean, the team's got a lot of work to do. But one of the things that I was very pleased with Jimmy Lozano, even the loss to Qatar. I mean, that's one of those like fluke things where you can dominate a team. And I've said this about, like soccer is one of the few sports like boxing where you can literally dominate your opponent and a fluke, goal, and you lose, So, I mean, one of the things that I really enjoyed about Jimmy's team was that he gave the team options, scoring opportunities, something that Tata wasn't doing very well, or even Coca. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about Jimmy's team is that when the teams were scoring, or like the scoring opportunities, the forwards were running towards the ball, and they were receiving the ball as they were running towards the goal, as opposed to just like like playing, having to spread out to the back. Although that's how Santi received the ball. I mean he got that ball with half field, so he had an open field. But one of the things that was really just frustrating with with the previous teams was just there wasn't that hookup between the midfield and the offense and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know what Jimmy did. I don't know what he told his players, but you could literally sit and see the change in how the team was functioning, line by line, section by section of the field. So that has me, at least I'm hoping that Jimmy can continue and build on that, because like I said, I haven't seen Mexico do crap for the last 5-6 years, really.
We definitely needed that victory. You could see how the players reacted to that. I mean, Edson was crying. Like, it was a big victory. I think a weight off their shoulders. They had a lot of pressure, and they were able to get the victory that mattered.
And obviously, did you guys see the? I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but like for example, did you see the reaction from the Televisa Tuden, what's his name, Vaca or whatever?
Vaca.
Yeah, like he's crying and stuff like that, and apparently got shit for it. And it's like then Faitelson, and then just the pundits criticizing Mexican fans for celebrating, but
even Peláez.
But I mean, honestly, the national team hasn't done shit. And I honestly, I mean, I understand and I feel, for those, for the fans celebrating something, because like I said, I mean, the national team, and at least in the last 4 or 5 years, just hasn't done shit. I mean, they weren't scoring, they weren't playing right, so I really am hoping that, that this is the start of something,
Well, that's all
But
gonna matter. It all depends on if they decide to keep Jimmy.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Because
there's
if they
only so
don't,
much.
it's back to square one.
Well, I mean, going to what some of you guys were saying about, about the player development and stuff like that. There's only so much that Jimmy can do, you know, and but there is a fundamental problem just with the league. And like I read that or what's the name? Hercules Gomez was tweeting or was saying, or I'm sorry, he said something about that he's got it through some sources that there's a good chunk of the MLS teams that are not going to take the League's Cup serious, and that, like, to me, kind of like just pissed me off because it's like and I know I've mentioned this before, and it's a broken record here, but one of the things that really pissed me off about and about just Mexican soccer and the predicament that we find ourselves in is because the powers to be, they basically they put their eggs all in one basket in trying to basically really kickstart the union between MLS and Liga MX, the federation between the U.S. and Mexico and stuff like that. And it seems like Mexico, took the deal and it got the suckers deal. It seems like Canada and the U.S. are benefiting more than Mexico, and Mexico has stagnated as a result. So they're not going to take Leagues Cup serious. And obviously, now they're not even going to take, the Gold Cup serious, which to me, that's just a slap in the face.
Ron, I don't buy it. That's more to me. I don't buy what Herc said. I know they have to. They set things up a certain way, to get the more clicks. I think it's more of the teams and the MLS teams. They don't have enough depth to compete in two tournaments. So it's not that they're not going to take it serious. It's just that I don't think they have the big enough squads to compete in two tournaments. And so they have to choose. They most likely will choose the local tournament.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense though, because they're only playing that one tournament.
Well, here's
both.
All right. Here's my attitude about this, real quick.
Okay.
Like, who the fuck are you to have the luxury of saying, you know what, we're not gonna take this tournament? Like, who the fuck are you? Like, Mexico can do that because of what we've been able to accomplish in CONCACAF, but U.S. nor Canada have the pedigree or the accomplishments to be able to take a day off, right? So, like, fuck them for doing that.
Have you seen what the common, like right now, the typical Canadian fan and the typical U.S. soccer fan? They're online. They're worse than the big soccer the big soccer forum guys from back in the early 2000s and stuff like that. Where, like, right now they think their shit doesn't stink. They think they're top. They think they're top pedigree. They think they're better than Mexico. It's pretty bad. Just how delusional they are. Granted, I know that they've improved and stuff like that.
But why should we care, Ron, man? Like who cares? You know what I mean? Lions don't worry about the sheep.
I get that, but here's the thing: they've improved, yet Mexico has stagnated. The Mexican soccer has stagnated. We should, that's think about that. That's two tournaments. That's two national. We played the Nations League. I'm sorry. We played the Nations League and then the Gold Cup. Okay, and then you also have two club competitions, which is the CONCACAF Champions League or whatever, and then also now the Leagues Cup. That's time. That's using the calendar properly. That is where Mexico should have, like the FMF should have, and Liga MX should have gone for more what do you call it?
Prestigious
South America. Yes. And it's like, and I know I tweeted this a couple of months back, or like about a month and but month and a half before, like, before the Gold Cup, or I'm sorry, the Nations League and stuff like that. But when I was reading that the U.S. wasn't going to bring in their best team for the Gold Cup, and I'm thinking, you motherfuckers, that goes back. I mean, that reminds me of 2011 when CONCACAF basically told Mexico, no, fuck you, you're going to send a U23 team to Copa America, and then you got to send us your best to Gold Cup.
Well, if you want to continue to compete, but let's keep in mind that was different people in charge.
I know.
Those people are gone. The Warriors and the Blazers are no more.
I know, but here's the thing: it's different people, but it's the same business model, exploiting the Mexican fan. It's the same model. They're just doing it with a smile, as opposed to the hostile. The hostile, like they. What's his name? Warner and Blazer. It was Chuck Blazer. I mean, he was out about this. I mean, he didn't get along with a lot of the Mexican execs.
But look, Ryan, I'm gonna say this: who gives a shit how they take the tournament, what they're doing? I think the Mex team should just keep doing their own thing. Win those tournaments. Look at the new tournament they're already doing with South America, right? 4 and 4 teams. Is it 2 or 4?
But what I'm saying is, but here's the thing is.
But see, that's going to be 4 Mexican teams. If those scrubs want to send their cheap squads, let Mexico continue winning, and then they're the ones playing the 4 South American teams. I guarantee you that tournament's going to go from 8 to 12 to 16, and it'll become an even better tournament.
No, it's not, dude. No, it's not. You know what? We're going back. We've been there, done that. That's the Interamericana Part 2.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, for the top 2.0. No, but you needed that. I mean, you needed that type of tournament because remember Mexico. They were knocking on South America's door for years and years and years, trying to play against them. And finally, and it wasn't actually, and this, it wasn't the league, the federation that was able to get, into the door. It was actually promoters, basically buying their way in to get to be able to compete in Copa America and Copa Libertadores. So, I mean, it's like this, it's basically going to be, I guarantee you that this new tournament is going to be like the equivalent of the Giants Cup.
But here's the thing. ¿Por qué le sigues amando la verga a los sudamericanos? Why do you want to go past the value?
I'm not saying
la América en la final.
You gotta play against better competition.
We're gonna win.
You gotta play against better competition.
Over here. They're already coming over here.
No.
Over for champions, and now they want us back for Libertadores. It's already changing.
You gotta play the Copa Libertadores.
We don't have to. They're already coming to us.
So last year, no. Let's be very clear about this. They're coming here. They're coming here for what? Because all of the promotion of the World Cup. I guarantee you, once the World Cup is gone, bye, fuck you.
No, I do not.
No, I guarantee you.
No, they don't have money, dude. It's only Brazil and all of them. They're starving, dude. I'm not saying.
I want to disagree with you, but you gotta look at the facts. Did that happen after the 1994 World Cup? No, if anything, it made the game here bigger.
What's that?
When the U.S. hosted the 1994 World Cup or whatever year it was, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was 94.
Did it make the game here less popular or more popular?
No, obviously it was more popular.
Did
it make the game grow?
Yeah.
Yes. So why would the opposite happen after this World Cup? It's not going to be goodbye, fuck you. If anything, it might make it.
No,
grow
what I'm
more.
saying, what I'm saying is that the partnership or the alliances between South America, like the CONMEBOL and CONCACAF. One of the reasons why the U.S. is getting Copa America again is obviously because of the World Cup, and obviously CONMEBOL is not stupid. They want the money. But after the World Cup, after 2026, you're not going to have the U.S. Get Copa America. I'd venture to say in at least another 10, 15 years.
No
So
way,
what?
I
man.
don't
There's
know
too much
because I mean
money.
their actions tell you the opposite. I mean Argentina's FA is building stuff in Miami. I mean they wouldn't do it just with the intention of using it for 2-3 years. Obviously they're planting seeds here for a reason. Obviously they know that the U.S. is a big hotbed of diversity,
And
and
it
that
has been for a long time.
and look at it like I saw like with the Gold Cup, it was like the Guatemala game, like the whole stadium was sold out. Like where all these Guatemalans come from? Same thing like with Panama. I was like, I've never met a Panamanian in my life, but here they are like selling out the stadium like for their home game, like of the group stage and stuff like that. So I mean, it's all these teams are taking notice. The Messi thing is a big effect. You're gonna have a lot of guys from South America who their preference might be to join MLS instead of a Liga MX offer or a Dutch league offer, if they can play with Messi and against Messi for a few years, and then they kind of settle in and more players start coming in.
Who brought in Messi? Who brought in Messi?
Beckham.
Yes, and what?
No, the
and
whole league. The,
No,
the
no,
whole
no, no,
league
no,
brought him.
no, Beckham.
And Apple, probably
And
Apple had a big thing in
and
this.
here's the thing.
I don't
Do you
think
think
Beckham has
Messi?
that type of money to bring in
I know.
Messi.
Do you think Messi came here for salary or for ownership?
Everything. The
Oh no.
whole
He didn't.
deal
No, what I'm
was
He didn't come
to be
for
able to go to
salary.
Publix and shop in peace.
what I'm saying is that Beckham was smart. In the terms of that Messi's basically gonna he's gonna profit from U.S. soccer and more power to him. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't help Mexican. That doesn't help the Mexican league. That doesn't help MLS. I'm sorry, the League MX. It doesn't.
But we're not talking about helping the league right now. We're talking about your point of it's gonna be like bye bye, fuck you, U.S. soccer after World Cup, because you
It
just
is.
Yeah.
said it. You
It,
just said it. Messi's coming here for ownership. So
no,
you
he's
think
coming in for
Yes.
himself. He's coming
Yeah,
in
so
for.
you think when
He's there.
Messi doesn't own the team in the league, that's not going to attract more players that want to be under the Messi team?
Yep.
So go ahead. Messi. What in 4 or 5 years? He's gone, dude.
Where is he
No,
gonna
not if
go?
he has ownership in the
He's not
club.
gone. He's
No,
going to
no,
have
no.
ownership in the team.
What I'm saying, no, but what I'm saying, he's gone. He's not going to have that influence. He's looking out for himself. He's looking out for his future. Hey, more power to him. I'm not criticizing him for that.
You
Okay.
don't see him as a Pele type of dude. Pele was always there, the face of MasterCard and all that. You don't think that's gonna be Messi in the U.S.?
Look,
I
I'm
look
just
at
saying this.
get
You have,
you get on
I mean,
Twitter and go look Messi stuff in Argentina. You have like people shooting up like his family's business or something. Apparently, he has some beef going on there that even their family feel in jeopardy. The U.S., Miami, Argentina, FA building headquarters there. It looks like he's planning on settling down. For a good while. He's a rich guy. Rich people travel the world whenever they feel like it. But it
no, I
seems like
guess
that's going to be one of his primary destinations, Miami.
no, and it has been for a while. But the thing is, going back to what started this, the Mexican soccer has not benefited. They haven't.
No, and that's
When
facts. And I mean, I can agree with that. Like Yoon said it himself. He said, "We're away from our families. We're on visitors. Not our territory. We're gonna be the away team every single match of the tournament. We're playing in their stadiums." He's like, "At least with Libertadores, it was like fair. Like it was home and away." He's like, "This is just a tournament to benefit MLS more than Liga MX."
and it's funny with Copa Libertadores, it wasn't even fair for the Mexican teams. Mexican teams would constantly get fucked over by the CONMEBOL teams, constantly. But
No, but I mean, you have the fairness of home field advantage at least.
But that would build character. That build character with with those teams because they would go into hostile territories. Forget the fans, forget the hostile territories, but even the dirty dealings that like the CONMEBOL officials would do and put Mexican teams at a disadvantage. I mean, at the time it would piss you off because they fucked over Santos. They would fuck over. Who was it? Who was it? Yeah, in fact,
I mean,
Santos actually.
They
What's
fucked
that?
over Chivas twice.
They
I mean,
fucked
they
over
were.
America, bro, at halftime.
I know. But what I'm saying is that those type of instances, you're out of your comfort zone. It builds character and stuff like that. And I'm just saying this: you're not going to get that in CONCACAF.
Yeah, but you don't need to go
Do you
that
want
far
do you want
though.
CONCACAF to screw over Max to build
You
character
don't want to put
for
your
the
players in
players?
crappy
No,
situations
but what I'm
for them
saying
to
is
grow.
that, but you got to put yourself. Like I said this, and one of the things that I do agree with Osorio was that you have to have the Mexican player constantly playing important matches. Okay, now if
Yes,
you're
it
not
does.
going
It does more so for the youth than for the
no,
regular player.
no, it's across the board because you need to have those players playing constantly and a high competition matches. Now, if you're not going to get that in Europa League and you're not going to get that in Champions League, well, the best thing to do is then Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana, because here's the thing: the Leagues Cup that's not going to provide that, and the Champions Cup, the Conca Champions, that doesn't provide that.
Yeah, but you don't need to go that far, though. You could fix the situation at home. Look at Santi Jimenez's interview today. They asked him the difference between Mexican League and the Dutch League, and he said the levels are very similar. The only thing that is more difficult about over there is that in Liga MX you can afford to relax because the top 12 get in. While down there you have the pressure of winning in and week out. So you could even do small fixes in your local league
Yeah,
to kind of bring that little pressure higher. You could do like
top
a
four goal
year-long
liguilla.
tournament, top 6 qualify, the first 2 go directly to semis, and then the other 4 play for a spot for the other 2 semifinal spots. But now you're increasing the pressure at home of you have to win because only the top 6 can get in. And that's a little tweak that puts more pressure on the players when out of 18 you can fall all the way down to 12 and still be champ. So if you don't want to perform this week, you don't have to perform this week.
Now, it's my understanding. I think that they're going to do away with the whole 12 12 teams getting into the playoffs. But the thing about it is, for me, and I don't see this. This is not a coincidence to me. This is just, it's almost like a fact. The last team to play the Copa Libertadores was Tigres in 2015. Okay. Then the last time Mexico played in Copa America was in 2016. So basically 2015, 2016, the team started going down. I mean, 2018. Osorio.
I call cap on that, bro. We've been mediocre for the last 20 years, dog. Stop it.
No, that's not it.
No. You. I don't know how.
2018 was not as bad as 2022. Let me tell you that.
No, look, Germany really,
And 2014. What's your excuse for 2014, bro? We almost didn't qualify.
I've told you that. In fact, I think I don't remember. I tweeted. I forget against who, but I'm not convinced that that Mexico has really improved since the big exodus of 06 after the Germany World Cup where you started. I was going back and forth with somebody on Twitter about that. So, I mean, we've basically had now 2010, 2014, 2018, and 22. Basically, four World Cups now. And really, in the last 2 World Cups, we had a lot of Euro-based players. I'm still not sold that Europe, that sending to Europe is going to be the end-all, be-all. And that, once we have boom, I'm still not convinced. I've always said that yes, if you're going to send players to Europe, it's because they're competing. They're competing they're constantly getting into at least the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Yeah. Okay.
Well, here's something that kind of ironic because I was thinking about that at one point because I remember it was Hugo Sanchez that said if Mex has like 80 players in Europe, I'll make them champions. Or when they have he said some amount like that. But if it ever gets to that point, just really quick, if it gets to that point where let's say Mexico sends 40 players to Europe, at that point they don't really need to send them to Europe because that means the league is providing players of an exceptional quality. It's like Argentina. Do they really need to? Like, are they winning the World Cup because they're sending them to Europe? So those players will be good regardless. They'll be that good regardless. Their league would be way better if they stayed. Same with
And
Brazil.
here's the thing. There's a lot of national teams in Africa, in South America and stuff like that have a bunch of
Yeah.
players, over 30,
Their whole
over 40
squad.
players. Exactly. And that's
Like
always been
Ghana,
the case.
remember Ghana? At one point, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Senegal. All those teams were supposed to win the World Cup because they were full of
At
Euro
one point,
players.
Ghana had probably the best, at least on paper, the best midfield in the world. They had, what's his name, the dude, Essien, whatever his name, from I think Chelsea. I mean, those players were just, I mean, on paper they were playing in the best teams in the world, and but they didn't. They wouldn't even make it. They would crash out in the group stages, or they would lose. Early on in the World Cup and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, sending players to Europe. Jamaica does that. They've been doing that. I mean, back. I know you wholly. We've talked about this before, but even back in the late '90s and stuff like that. Well, when Mexico would play against like the teams from the Caribbean and stuff like that, they'd always go, "Oh, Jamaica, whatever. They got 10 players in Europe and stuff like that." Yeah, because obviously, they were able to take advantage of of their citizenship, and stuff like that, and they were able to play in like in English second division, or even like the lower tier Premier League teams, But I still say I'm still convinced that Mexico, if the Mexican player has to play competitive matches day in and day out, and you're not getting that in CONCACAF. You either got to go to Europe, or you're going to have to go to South America. And South America is it's going to be an easier fix to go there because they want us back. They've been begging us to go back.
But here's the other thing. It's also, you have a great point. The Mexican player needs to be playing this. In our teams, except for Chivas, how many Mexicans are on the roster? We keep bringing mid at best extranjeros into the league.
Yeah, and Cruz Azul is the biggest culprit of that.
That's where the problem is. Hey. Todavía no estamos hablando de Liga, cabrón.
You want to... Yeah, you're part of the problem, my guy.
We are. You know what?
Cruz Azul signings that you sent over, never heard those guys in my life.
Yeah, Billy Alvarez, man. But look, Ron, you've been playing the same broken record for this entire time. Like, things aren't going to change, bro.
Well, we're seeing the results. It's not it's not, for me. It's not a coincidence.
Another fun fact is,
a lot of things you can blame.
Another fun fact is, guess what? The rest of the region has the same handicap as us, right? USA and Canada have the same problem as we do.
No, because they actually they're able to send European players to Europe a lot easier than Liga MX obviously because the transfer fees aren't as high, and also there's a lot of Canadian, a lot of American players that have that can get the visa and stuff like that. So they have more of an advantage than the Mexican player, going to Europe. But again, it's like I just the Mexican executive basically sold out, and they went for the money.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of things you could blame. You could also say that Mexico has been good since they left Libertadores, or you could say that whole time all they had was foreign coaches and they needed a Mexican coach. I mean, everyone could come up with their own idea or opinion of why these last 8 years haven't been the best, or maybe it's a combination of everything. But I wouldn't just pinpoint it to that one thing. We go back to South America, and yes, we're on the right path again. There's still a lot of things that need to be fixed, and the majority of those things are at home.
Yeah.
So without Copa America and without Copa Libertadores, and keep in mind, there's no more Confederations Cup. How are you going to gauge where you're at?
Well, that's why I say there's a lot of things.
Hey, we're playing Uzbekistan, and we're playing Germany.
No, that's what. Oh, that's the beauty of playing in Copa Libertadores, and that's the beauty of playing in Copa America.
Dude, you don't have to
Because
convince us to get back in there.
No,
Like
I
we
know.
understand. Like we
My
understand.
favorite Chivas memories, favorite Chivas games growing up as a kid was watching the Libertadores
But
ones. Not even
you
the
gotta
Liga
stop
MX
playing this
ones.
broken record, bro. Because
Yeah, you're
you
preaching to
no,
the
it's not.
choir.
It's not because here's the, and as much as I don't care for a lot of the pundits. I do agree with some of the pundits. Keep basically repeating that same broken record. We need to go back into Libertadores. We need to go back to Sudamericana. We need to go back to Copa America because honestly, without that, there's no way of knowing how well the league or the national team are if you're just basically basing it off CONCACAF, Champions League and Gold Cup.
I get it, dude, but at the same time, it's like we can't be using that as an excuse as to
If
why the team's
anything,
not doing well. Like you can't use the same boogeyman, bro.
if
Well,
anything, we need
I'm
confederations.
add to this. Even
That's
if
what
they
we need.
returned, you wouldn't see that much of an improvement. I feel because I think the main problem continues being lack of players. And so even if Max would have stayed, it's a good chance they weren't gonna do much. Uh, but just because they cut out they pretty much cut out the Max player in half, which is I think they're already trying to remedy. But I do feel that there will be like a combined Copa America. I don't think it's like you said, you know, fuck you very much, thank you very little, we're out. It's they benefit a lot, and by they I mean CONMEBOL. So I do think we're going to be seeing a proper Copa America, 16, maybe 20 team, whatever, uh, down the line. I don't. So I think that's going to be a good tournament to have.
Yeah.
But just really quick, Ron. Look, Mexico's first time they get to Copa America, right? And they didn't have tournaments like that, and they made the final.
What's that?
So I agree a lot with what Pastor said. Is Mexico's main problems are at home. I mean, fix those first, and then we'll see. But I think that those are the main things to look after. What's happening with the league and with
You
the
can
clubs
reduce
and how the national teams managed.
the amount of, like, for example, of foreigners. I get that. In fact, I want that. All right, but that in itself is not going to solve the problem. I mean, one of the beauties, like for example, like I'm thinking of, like, for example, that Colo Colo team that was it that Pachuca beat and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, they had what's the name, Suazo, who later went to was it Monterrey. They had what's the name, Matias, was it Matias Fernandez? If I'm not mistaken. That at one point they thought that guy was going to be the next wonder kid. I mean, like I go back, like I'm not a big basketball fan, but like I know that I have a lot of friends that are basketball friends, and one of the things that they always say about the NCAA, college, basketball, is that it's for them, for a lot of my friends, and I've also heard this in social media and stuff like that it's a lot more entertaining than the NBA and stuff like that. And the players, play harder and this and that because they're trying to get to that next level, right? And there's some truth to that and stuff like that. But the point that I'm trying to make and the comparison that I'm trying to make is that, we were able to see, when when the Mexican teams were playing in South America, we were able to see, like, for example, a lot of those guys like Alexis Sanchez and Suazo or Vidal before they became before they went to Europe and became big stars. So and the thing about it is the Mexican player was playing against these guys, when they're hungry and they want to fucking eat, they want to take on the world and they want to go out to Europe and stuff like that. I mean, for me, it was no coincidence that once Mexico started playing the South American tournaments, that's when kind of like the scouts started to come more to Mexico and and you had Palencia, and you had Palencia, you had Villa, you had Cuauhtemoc, you had well, you started to see more Mexican players go to Europe, right? Um, for, again, I know that there's a lot of internal things that Mexico needs to improve on. I mean, for me, starting off, I think the number one is limiting the amount of foreigners. Um, and I say that. I mean, I'm torn between that because on one point, the league technically shouldn't be there to serve the national team because at the end of the day, the club is a business and they should put out the best product. In an ideal world, if the team wanted to have 6-7 foreigners, yeah, but that's where the federation, which technically is a nonprofit, and they should have that academy that they have in Florida or that very famous one that they have in France. What's the name of what? What's the name of it?
Name of the academy in France?
Yeah, the one that produces a shitload of players. Yeah, that's the one. I mean, in an ideal world, the MFM should be taking care of that, and the Liga MX should be more worried about having the best talent and producing the best product. I get that. But Mexico, because of its geographic location and they have to tweak some things. But again, I'm just like I said, I'm going back to the national team and the Gold Cup. I'm hoping that this is the start of something, but I still don't see Mexico getting out of this one.
Getting out of what? The group stage?
No, just the rut that they're in. Because like I said, Jimmy was able to calm the waters. And keep in mind, this is just what is like 4 or 5 match tournament, or what is how many games did they play? 3 group. Yeah, so it's a 6-game tournament and stuff like that. You're not gonna fix the problems in 6 games,
Oh, for sure not. And keep in mind, he didn't call up those players. Those were sort of the ones that he had to take in, right? If he had a clean slate, I think some of those players wouldn't have made the roster. And it was evident by the amount of lack of playing time that some of these players had.
Like who? Linus?
Yeah. I have a photo of him just like pissed off on the bench.
You should post it.
But
yeah, he got roasted hard on Twitter.
For like taking photos of the trophy and stuff, or what?
Yeah, that because in Tigres and now in the national team, not doing anything and still winning titles.
Yeah.
Now, just a really small detail. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but on the telebroadcast, when Linus goes to grab the trophy, like he's gonna lift it, le meten un pinche zape de por detrás. It's a beautiful thing.
His players?
Yeah. Someone from behind, le meten un pinche zape from the side.
That's funny. Yeah, I think Cordova unfortunately was battling an injury, but if I remember correctly, he had originally been on that list to play in the Gold Cup, and also obviously Alexis Vega, and we didn't have Chucky, we didn't have Tecatito, so I would love to see number 1 Jimmy stay, just keep him in there, why not? Number 2, I would be curious to see what the next year looks like. They did arrange some exciting friendlies for the remainder of the year. Germany, Uzbekistan. Who else did they? I think an African team as well, right? So we got some selection, and then we got Copa.
Hey Ron,
Copa
America. Can you go on mute for a second, bro? Your reverb is crazy.
Let me put it on mute then. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, we got some exciting friendlies for the rest of the year. I still hear it.
Hold on. I'm trying to. All right, there you go.
And then Copa America in the United States, very comfortable. And, you know, maybe we'll have some more players make a name for themselves. We'll see. I'm very curious to see what happens to Chucky Lozano if he ends up finalizing that deal to LAFC. I mean, is this the end of Chucky for the national team, or will he continue to get called up?